East-West matchup this weekend outside the beautiful city of Denver. Connor, appreciate you hopping on, giving us a couple minutes. A Red Bull Rapid matchup, which has some intrigue with former Red Bull head coach Chris Armas in charge of Colorado, and a Colorado team, which, again, correct me if I'm wrong, has been pretty fun to watch this season and much, much better on the field.
Yeah, can't disagree with you at all there, Matt. I mean, you just look at the goals scored, look at the expected goals scored, you look at the place in the standings, you look at the quality of play on the field without the stats. I mean, everything across the board has been an improvement from 2023, which of course was just one of the low points for the club. But 2024 has been nothing but the complete opposite of that.
You know, going through the numbers a little bit, Connor, the thing that jumps off to me is two guys double-digit goals already this season. So you've got that 1-2 punch that a lot of teams do not offer in Major League Soccer, and two guys that seem to, at least at this point, speaking obviously of Navarro and Mihailovic, two guys that seem to be really kind of gelling and playing well off of one another.
Yeah, and the numbers, the stats, I think speak for themselves there. Like when you see what Georgie's able to do, it's get the ball to Hoffa, and what Hoffa's able to do is put the ball away when it's inside the box, and that's something that connection, that interplay between two guys like that at that level is something that's been missing, and I think has been sought after by this club for years. Kind of had it with Diego Rubio a couple years ago, but wasn't consistent, obviously didn't stick for long term. Hopefully this partnership with those long-term deals that they both have is something that lasts beyond 1 or 2 years. This isn't just a flash in the pan.
Tell me from a standpoint, if you look on that side, really good. 44 goals scored. The other side of it, 37 given against. Knowing Chris Armas like I do, I'm sure that number is a little bit high for him. Love to bring that down and kind of balance it out. Hey, really good attack, but we can't give up goals the way that we have at certain points during the course of these games.
Yeah, and I think that's been the message this summer, especially when this team is looking at where it is in the table and looking at what their goals are, is to host home playoff games and to win home playoff games. And you can only win a game in the playoffs by scoring goals, but it's a lot easier to win games when you're not giving up goals. And I think that's been a huge, huge point of emphasis. And you look at some of the talent that we have there. I mean, Zach Steffen is U.S. men's national team quality keeper. Max Sue is probably one of the most underrated center backs in MLS. And then Moise Bombito, his career is, the trajectory is just sky high right now. And then in the outside backs, Rosenberry's the captain. Vines is one of your homegrowns that you believe in because you've seen him since he was a teenager, and you've seen him grow and then play in Europe and come back. And I think when you look at the collective talent, the goals don't reflect that talent. Like the performances haven't reflected that talent, but it's also been something that I think in the last 6, 8 weeks maybe has sharply improved. The beginning of the year was rough. I mean, it started with 4 goals given at Portland. And then since then, you've had a couple, 2, 3 goals given up. But since then, other than the LAFC game a couple weekends ago, it's been stout defensively, and it's been an area that we've seen a lot of improvement as those guys have gotten more comfortable in the Armas system.
Connor, last one, and that would be something you just kind of touched on, which is being much better at home, wanting to make sure that there's a home playoff game this year at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. What has been the difference? Is it mentality? Is it tactics? Is it a little bit of everything? Because this has been a team at home that's been hard to break down and hard to beat.
I think it's a little bit of tactics. It's a little bit of mentality. It's a little bit of Chris Armas emphasizing that our fans show up for us and we need to show up for them. And when we're in front of them, we need to put out the best possible product possible. And given that we started with 10 of our first 17 on the road, it was kind of like, okay, we need to accumulate some points there and make sure that we're not too far down the table at the end of that stretch, because then the back half of the season is a bunch of home games and we can make up ground if we've lost any and really start to accumulate those points, and ended up getting 31 points out of the first few games. And now this backstretch that is so loaded with home games, I think the guys just see it as an opportunity where this is our fortress. This is what we have to protect. And The altitude, the elevation, I think obviously plays a role. Like you've seen it with St. Louis last weekend. Like the game was close. It was tied for quite a bit, and then the Rapids took the lead at the end, and then poured on the third and the fourth goal at the very end. We've seen the Rapids really poured on from the 75th minute on to the rest of the game. And I think that's just elevation, where you wear teams out with the style of play, like you talked about with tactics, mentality. We're going to be in your face. We're going to press. We're going to make it difficult. We're going to make you dread coming to Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And that's come to fruition.
Colorado, fourth place in the West. Red Bull, fourth place in the East. Should be a fun matchup outside of Denver on Saturday night, despite the heat and the altitude. Looking forward to catching up in person. Connor, thanks for coming on, giving us a couple of minutes, my friend.
Always. Thank you guys. Can't wait to see you guys.